Good to see you all. Happy Saturday, day 13. So today I wanted to just go back and refine our posture, and we'll actually do a few really basic stretches. I got a question about, how exactly is this breath work incorporated into asana, into yogic postures, and I'm not sure there's any sort of like traditional or authoritarian answer to that, but the way I use it is what you'll notice in KUMBHAKA. A big part of developing a relationship with this technique is understanding the experience of each segment of the breath, the quality of each segment. So the inhale comes with its own representation. The top retention, the antar kumbhaka, comes with its own feelings. The exhale and the bottom retention are the same. But both of the retentions, they create this momentary sort of like flash pause. There's a sense of mental stillness, a flash of mental quiet. And this goes hand in hand with the yogis, very simplistic sort of like relationship, very simplistic sort of explanation of the relationship between breath and mind, or chitta in Sanskrit and prana. Mind, chitta in Sanskrit, and prana, breath. So the relationship is that prana and chitta move in the same direction. When prana is moving quickly, chitta is moving quickly. When prana is moving slowly, chitta is moving slowly. Meaning, when we're breathing very quickly, let's say someone's having an anxiety attack and they're just inhaling into their upper chest, their minds are essentially spiraling out of control. And when you take a second to slow down your exhales and you breathe deeply into the belly, slow, patient breath in, your mind slows down as well. And there's an emotional sort of occurrence that tags along with that. When the mind moves quickly, there is often anxiety, hence the panic attack. And when the mind and the breath move slowly, there's often the sense of peace. But what happens when the breath is arrested? There is the void of the mind, or the mental stillness and the mental quiet angle. In Sanskrit, this is called rahita, and this is what a yogi is trying to leverage and expand upon. No mind. So when you thread kumbhaka into poses and you hold your breath, there's this momentary pause of mind, and in that there's a sense of pause in time. And I just use it to like really boost my relationship to the pose. Inhale, hold, refine alignment, refine shapes, increase your sort of like sensitivity, and use that increased sensitivity to intend more into the body. And so with that, we're just gonna get into our posture again. And so we'll do a couple stretches in the beginning to open up some muscles and give you a feeling of how tall you can actually sit in your seated postures. And what this is actually gonna provoke in terms of like a practical sense is confidence. When you sit upright, there is a surge of confidence, a surge of shakti, of willpower. And that confidence, which is coming from your sympathetic nervous system, is going to alter the way you interact with the intensity of the technique. The big idea there is that our response, essentially our character, the emotions we feel in any given moment, are not just spontaneous, number one. They are reactions to our environment and to our thoughts of our situations, but they are governed by our bodies. And so if we go all the way back to the chariot with the horses, the direction of our journey, who we are, the direction of our character is governed by the flesh. And we have a little bit of control over that flesh. So if we take the time to actually sit upright, it's going to motivate us to perform our techniques with a bit more oomph. Cool, so with that, let's get into a comfortable seated position. I don't see too much movement, but what goes hand in hand with this posture thing is like pronounced stillness. So if you have the tendency to sort of like wobble or like touch your face or adjust your shoulders while in your posture, today's going to be the day where we're going to attempt to cut that out. And then you have this chance to see where that leads. So really profound stillness and strong posture. It's going to do a lot. Okay, so right off the bat, tilt your hips forward into the two front hip points, sort of to the left and right and below your belly button. Feel them move towards your feet. And all of a sudden, your spine should lengthen and your chest should open up to the space in front of you. And so this movement in the spine is called extension, right? The spine is extending forward. And now let your hips roll backwards. You'll feel your tailbone and sacrum roll onto the floor or the pillow. And then the spine is naturally going to shrink. The chest is going to collapse. The shoulders are going to fold forward. Your head might even fall. And this is flexion. And so take a couple moments. Inhale, open the chest forward. Exhale, collapse the spine backwards. But notice that it's all coming from your hips. That if you just move your hips, the spine and torso will adjust on its own as a response. And so what this is informing you is that your posture is governed by the pelvis. Awesome. Roll your hips forward. Sit up nice and tall. Rest your wrists on your knees, straight arms. Drag your shoulder blades down the skull. And now really straighten your arms. So they're as stiff and as firm as two planks of wood. Now your triceps, the muscles in your upper arms, the back of your upper arms, tighten your triceps slightly and feel that through that contraction of the triceps, the shoulders seem to insert into the torso. And now the arms brace the chest. Sit up with more length. Okay. Shut your jaw, press your tongue into the back of your two front teeth, drop your chin to your collarbone, feel a stretch in the back of your neck. Now with an inhale, bring your right ear to your right shoulder, rolling your head along the way. Right ear to right shoulder. You're stretching the left side of the neck. Take a second here. Relax the left shoulder. So from the left ear to the left shoulder, you should feel this stretch. With your next inhale, roll your head all the way back. Feel an opening in the throat. Exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Again, relax the right shoulder. So from the right ear to the right shoulder, nice long stretch. Exhale, chin to collarbone. And so you essentially just hit these four cardinal points: forwards, backwards, left, right. On your own a couple times, just roll your head up the right and exhale down the left. And so you're working with the cervical spine. When you're in your seated pose, you want this feeling that your head is a balloon floating away from the collarbone. And this depends on the strength, but also the length of all the muscles in the neck. Try to go for full range of motion. Now on your own, thread in a little bit of KUMBHAKA. When you're moving, hold the breath for a moment. Notice immediately this boost in presence and sensitivity, a sense of time stopping. And when everything stops, the intimacy that you're experiencing with your reality increases. Okay, and then switch sides when you're ready. Inhale up the left, exhale down the right, stretching these muscles, building a relationship with the cervical spine. With your next loop around, once your chin hits your collarbone, stay there for a moment. And again, just think about a balloon floating away, your head lifting away from the body, and very mindfully at that point, with an inhale, lift your head back to its regular meditation position and observe any change. Nice long neck. All right, now we'll get into twisting out the spine and torso. Take your left hand, place it on your right knee, palm face down. Take your right hand and place it behind the small of your back. Right hand wraps behind you, next to the hips. Left hand, right knee. Okay, now look over your right shoulder. As you inhale, breathe into your belly. Feel the spine extend or open forward. Then hold your breath. Deepen the twist. Exhale, stay tall. Deepen the twist even more. You can use the strength of your arms to force that. And then hold your breath with nothing in your lungs, sucking your belly into the spine, twisting, twisting, twisting. So inhale, hold, deepen the twist while you hold. Exhale, hold, deepen the twist while you hold. The goal is, while you are spiraling the spine, you are always sitting up taller and taller, creating as much space between the vertebrae as you can. Okay, switch sides. Inhale, hold. Remember, push the belly out. Exhale, hold, pull the belly in. As you hold your breath, again, notice this surge in presence, a rush of detail, a rush of connection. And this is why yogis worship KUMBHAKA, worship the retention over the inhale and exhale. They can't stay there forever, but they train themselves to stay there as long as they could. All right, back to neutral. Last little bit. So the spine can move in about 5 directions. The final direction is called axial extension, meaning the spine has natural curves, like a little S. Axial extension would be you're taking the curved nature of the spine, pulling it like a string, and straightening it out. And so inhale, arms reach up and overhead. Interlace your fingers. Index fingers point up to the sky. This is Shiva Mudra. Gives you a little leverage over the arms. Drag the arms behind your ears. And just try to sit up tall. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And notice how much energy you can pump into your flesh. How tall you can actually feel. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And so very similar to KUMBHAKA, breath retention, the consequence is a buildup of acidity. When we're holding our breath, that's carbon dioxide. But when you're exercising, it's carbonic acid. The sensation is similar. Tingling, buzzing, burning. Eventually it turns into fatigue. Now your foundation is what matters most. Feel your legs, feel your heels, whether they're crossed, whether one foot is on top of the other. And very gently, without using your arms, tuck your heels closer into your hips or your legs. So you're tightening the cross of your legs. And in that you should feel your hamstrings, right, the back of your upper legs tighten. From there, roll your hips slightly further forward, up, and you sat up with more length. Now keep the spine this tall, lift the skull away from the collarbone, and with a mindful exhale, release your straight arms to the ground, wrists land on knees. Beautiful, random finger to each thumb. Start to inhale, look for your baseline. Okay, we're going to warm up with a 1:1:1:1 ratio. The game today is to maintain this exaggerated posture and to not move. So from this point on, no fidgeting, no adjusting, no scratching, no itching. Perfect stillness. 1:1:1:1 ratio right now. We'll shift into the 1.5 soon. The joy of this, the breath holding, the pronounced posture, the capacity to not move, is that it gives us evidence of our control. And in that informs us that we are conscious over ourselves. There's so many spaces in our routines where we allow, by necessity, our unconsciousness and our impulsivity to make its way through the cracks. But when we commit to true stillness and breath holding, but stillness more than anything, those cracks are sealed up. Shift to a 1.5 ratio now. Every time you breathe in and you're holding your breath, maybe pushing your belly out, let that naturally rebuild your posture. And every time you exhale, actively lengthen the spine and draw the belly in. Let that rebuild your posture. And notice in between the support of the breath in and out, when you hold your breath, there is a flash of rahita, a flash of mental emptiness. A flash of inexplicable presence, where there are no questions, there are no answers, there is no right, there is no wrong. There is only increased experience. Gently boost your posture from the hips, tilt them forward. Gently, gracefully, think about the way leaves grow out of their stems. Gracefully straighten the arms if the elbows have bent. Tighten the triceps, the muscles on the back of the upper arm, and feel the shoulders insert into the torso. Attempt to lift your skull a bit further away from the collarbone. And while this takes energy, it is empowering. Now add 1 or 2 counts to both of your retentions. When we retain our breath, there is a flash of mental stillness and emptiness. For a moment, there is only the experience without judgment. That is rahita. But as we continue to hold our breath, we collect prana. We collect CO2, and that creates suffering. It's stressful. But eventually, with all of that prana, we separate the mind from the body, eventually separating consciousness from the mind. It's a great disassociation. So all you have to think is, to make that happen, if I am curious of such an experience, nirvana, extinguishing the self, moksha, liberation from the self, a great disassociation, if I'm curious of that, all I need to do is keep holding my breath. One more round. Once you're done with this final round, breathe normally and just focus on your stillness and posture, feeling the internal sensations of the body. Think of blood moving through the circulatory system. Think of electricity moving through the nervous system. And in this moment of heightened sensitivity, kaivalya, aloneness, only you can feel these things. Only you can generate rahita, generate this emptiness. Only you can know it. And that launches us into an emotional experience. As together as I am, with the world, of the world, within the world, I am also alone. And in that sacred. So consider kaivalya for your final moments. With a breath in, arms reach up and overhead. Notice the true length of your spine, the true potential of your posture. Activate your body a little bit. Inhale, hold your breath. Move into the pose a bit more deeply and intensely. Exhale, hold your breath. Move into the pose a bit more intensely. Keep the spine this tall. Activate your core and your hips. And with an exhale, slowly bring your hands to heart center. Listen to the world around you. We disassociate, we create space from ourselves and our lives so that we can see it clearly. The metaphor I love is taking a hike 3 miles away from a mountain. And in that distance, you see the summit, you see the slopes, you see the forest beneath it, the sky above it, and the rivers descending. You see the whole thing from distance. And so when we learn to distance ourselves from our own being and from our own minds, we see how everything fits together. Instead of rushing forward, a yogi rushes backwards. We see dukh, we see suffering, we see control, we see nirodh, we see aloneness, we see kaivalya, and we see their opposites: happiness, freedom, togetherness. And try to hear all of that in these final breaths. Everything is simultaneous. Lift your thumb knuckles to third eye center. Keep the spine tall. Focus on the sensation of your thumbs touching your forehead. Hone in onto it. Focus so intensely that other parts of the body blur out. So much of our practice is achieved through repetition. That which is aware of that tiny sensation, that is the self to yogis. That is what they learn to identify as. Not man, not woman, not noble, not vile. They associate as that. With an exhale, release your wrists to your knees. The best posture you can muster. Again, it's built from the hips. Feel the power that comes from that. And with an inhale, open your eyes. And I am still meditating. Attempt to maintain a meditative attitude and disposition. Attempt to continue existing in the backdrops. Your mind is there, your body is there, and then the world. Slow down your breath. One more time, slow down your breath. Blink your eyes. The meditative state washes away. I am no longer meditating.